Have you ever noticed how the best audio conversations feel like hanging out with your close friends? Let's turn that vibe into your next Talk podcast. Hello, and welcome to Podcast Your School, the series where you learn how to make your very own podcast. In today's lesson, we're diving into one of the most popular and beloved podcast formats out there, the Talk Podcast. Whether you're chatting with a co-host, a guest, or just having a solo heart-to-heart with your listeners, nailing the flow of a good conversation is key to keeping your audience hooked. Ready to learn how to create engaging talk podcasts? Here's what we'll go over today. First, we'll understand what makes a talk podcast unique and engaging. Then, we'll look at how having a natural flow while still having structure is the perfect balance for your talks. We'll explore why balancing different voices and personalities in the conversation can be crucial. And finally, we'll talk about keeping your audience engaged with variety and authenticity. First things first. What exactly is a talk podcast? Simply put, it's a podcast that is driven by conversation. Unlike scripted podcasts, a conversational podcast thrives on the natural back and forth energy between the host and the guests. They're relaxed, dynamic, and often feel more like listening to a friendly chat than a formal interview or monologue. The beauty of a talk podcast lies in its authenticity. It's all about capturing the spontaneous and genuine exchange of ideas that happen in real-life conversations. This format works well for a wide range of topics, from current events and pop culture to deep dives into niche interests. And the best part? If done properly, your audience feels like they're right there in the room with you, joining in on the chat. Now on to one of the most important aspects of the talk podcast. You want the conversation to feel effortless, like it's just unfolding naturally, while still keeping it focused and engaging. Now, how do you do that? Start by having a loose structure or outline. You don't need a full script, but having a roadmap of key topics or questions can help keep the conversation on track. Here's an example of a simple structure to follow. First, hook your audience. Start with something that grabs attention. A surprising fact, a funny story, or a big question you'll answer by the end of the episode. This gives your listeners a reason to stick around. Secondly, introduce the topic. Clearly explain what the episode is about and why it matters. Think of this as your what and why moment. For example, today we're talking about how video games bring people together and why that matters more than ever. Then you break it into segments. Divide your episode into smaller sections to keep it flowing. And you might want to assign a time frame for your segments, so when you're recording, you'll know whether or not you've been in a segment for too long. And finally, end with impact. Wrap up by summarizing key points or sharing a memorable final thought. Leave your audience with something to think about or do, like trying a new app or starting their own discussion. This structure keeps your podcast fun, focused, and easy to follow, just like your favorite shows. Another thing to keep in mind is transitions. Smoothly shifting from one topic to another is an art form. Sometimes it's as simple as picking up on something your co-host or guest just said and using it to shift over to your next point. Other times you might need to be more direct, guiding the conversation to a new topic. And remember, while it can be important to stay on topic, don't be afraid to let the conversation flow where it naturally wants to go. Sometimes the best conversations occur when you wander off topic and discover new and fun ideas. These moments can bring out the authenticity that listeners love. Now, let's jump into the balance of the conversation. In a conversational podcast, balancing voices and personalities is crucial. You want to make sure everyone involved has a chance to speak and contribute without one voice dominating the conversation. This is especially important if you have multiple hosts or guests. Be mindful of how much each person is speaking and aim to create an even distribution. If you notice someone is being quieter than usual, gently prompt them to share their thoughts. For example, if you're discussing a topic and one person hasn't spoken much, you might say, "What's your take on this?" to draw them in. On the flip side, if someone is dominating the conversation, steer it back to give others a chance to chime in. Also, think about how your differences complement each other. Are you the energetic, enthusiastic type while your co-host is more laid back and analytical? Play to those strengths. The contrast in personality styles can make the conversation more dynamic and interesting for your listeners. Just like any good conversation, it's about finding the balance where each personality shines, but no one overshadows the others. Now, keeping the audience engaged throughout the entire conversation is another key to a successful podcast. Here's how you can do it. First, talk to your audience, not at them. Even though they aren't physically present, imagine them being right there with you. Address them directly, ask them rhetorical questions, or invite them to think about something as you're discussing it. This makes your listeners feel more included in the conversation rather than just passive observers. And variety is another crucial factor. If the conversation stays on the same level or tone for too long, it can start to feel repetitive. Mix things up by varying your pace, tone, and energy levels. For example, if you've been deep in a serious discussion, lighten things up with a funny anecdote or a quick, playful exchange. This variety keeps your listeners on their toes and engaged in what you're saying. Alright, let's wrap up with some final takeaways from today's lesson. Talk podcasts can vary in style, but their authenticity is what makes them unique. Use a loose structure to guide the conversation without it feeling stiff. Balance who's speaking and let everyone's personality shine. And finally, keep your audience engaged by talking with them, not at them, and changing up the pace and tone. And with that, you're ready to sit down and talk for hours on your own talk podcast. Keep experimenting, keep chatting, and soon you'll find your own unique flow. See you in the next lesson. Bye!